Football is back, but the Carolina Panthers haven't changed a bit. Same struggles, same mistakes. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And there wasn't that much good, but I want to kind of talk specifically about the game. And let's be honest, I don't want to overreact. I know a lot of people are doing that, and rightfully so. There's a lot of things that we saw Sunday that isn't really pointing into the right direction as far as what we want what direction we want the Panthers to get into. And let's talk about it and let's be honest. But I don't want to overreact. But it is definitely it definitely warrants being concerned. It definitely warrants being concerned about how the season is going to shape up. So it's week one. There is a lot of football left, but first impressions mean everything, and this is not a good first impression by the Carolina Panthers. So I want to talk about the good first, and there wasn't that much. The first is T Mac. So T Mac had a hell of a game. According to PFF, T Mac was the third highest graded wide receiver week one, and he looked the part. T Mac looked really good. One of the few, if not the only pieces on offense that look good. He is a bona fide wide receiver one. And I understand he only had 62, 65 yards on six completions, I believe. He had an eight targets. He warrants more. He does. His hands like is elite, and I will take ownership. I didn't think T Mac was going to come out and play like this as far as when we first drafted him. Now, looking at him through training camp and the offseason, I changed mind on that, but I am happy that I was wrong on about T Mac. When we drafted him on draft night, I really thought it would be Jalen Walker or another defensive player. Honestly, wanted Mason Graham to fall, but I was wrong, and I'm glad I was. This guy looks like he's going to be a really good receiver for a long time. Obviously, it's week one. He has still a lot of development to do, but he looks the part. He flashed. He flashed why he was picked eighth overall. His hands, how smooth he is on his routes, the timing with him and Bryce, I thought was fantastic. He had that drop in the end zone. If you looked at the replay, the defender did have his arm on his shoulder before the ball got in there, and it was the shoulder that he used to catch the ball one handed. I know Joe Person asked Dave Canales today about that and how Joe Person basically made it sound like T Mac likes to catch the ball just one handed, but if you look how the ball was thrown in the angle, all he could use is one hand. That is something you obviously want him to come down with. The defender made a good play, but overall, T Mac looked good. He looked like pretty much the only wide receiver out there that Bryce could count on. And I'm excited for his continued development and how he's going to play throughout this season. But this is a really good sign, Panther fans, having a wide receiver finally that is going to contribute on offense and it's going to be consistent. And that's what we need just with everybody across the board. Just be consistent and do your job. And T Mac, as a rookie, his first game of the season, he didn't look like he was overwhelmed. He looked calm, cool, collected, and he looked like he belonged out there. And I can't say that for a lot of other players, but he looked like he belonged out there. And so I am pleasantly surprised and happy that he played the way he played this past Sunday. A couple other people that I thought played well. I thought Chuba Hubbard had a really good game. I thought Chuba ran the ball well. The running game could be a little bit better. I know we had 113 yards. Bryce had 40 yards on the ground. I think he had like 25 or so on one run. But Chuba Hubbard, I thought, did really well. He had that lone touchdown where he made a really good play, made a guy miss and got I believe it was 25 yard touchdown reception that should have went for 5. So I thought he gave a really good, solid solo effort. He, to me, he warrants being in that captain rotation. He really does. IPA, by the way. But this is something that I want to see him continue, but also Rico Dottle. I feel like Rico Dottle could have had a little bit more touches. Obviously, like the game wasn't going our way by the end of the first half. We had to throw the ball a little bit more, as per usual, as we did last year. And we'll get into like overall, but it's something that, as far as the game goes, but overall, I thought Chuba Hubbard did a really good job. I feel like he can do a little bit better, but given the circumstances and how we had to pass the ball a little bit more, especially in the second half, I feel like he did a really good job. JC Horn. JC Horn did a really good job this past Sunday. JC Horn had, I believe, the stat that I saw was with the ball targeted at him or him being around the targets that were targeted at him, he only allowed, I think, 1 or 2 receptions for, like, 8 yards, and he had an interception. He was elite, and I think he was one of the best corners to play this past Sunday, and he had that spectacular interception. I thought he was gonna, like, maybe get a tip on it. I didn't think he even had a shot to catch the ball, but, I mean, he's got better ball skills than some of these other wide receivers on our team. That was a phenomenal play, and we couldn't even capitalize. We had 4 plays after that, and we're out. So we couldn't even capitalize on the turnover. But I thought JC Horn did really well, really good solo effort out of that defense. I feel like the defense wasn't that great. We'll get more into it, but he was definitely a bright spot in that defense. And I thought that was a hell of a play by JC Horn. Hell of a play. I was pleasantly surprised with Ryan Fitzgerald. 48-yard field goal. It was in the first quarter, but I felt like, he's making field goals. He's a young player. He hopefully he continues to get better and get better and be consistent. We're not really giving him the opportunities. We only gave him one opportunity to kick a field goal, but he made it and made it in the first quarter to tie it in the game. But that was one of the bright spots. I was really nervous and still am a little bit nervous about this kicker position. But Ryan Fitzgerald seems like he's slowly coming a little bit more consistent. But glad to see that he was able to do his job out there as well. And then I thought Robert Hunt and Taylor Moton did a really good job on the right side of that offensive line. Um, they both they had like, one of the high top 5, 2 out of the 5 top rated PFF grades coming out of the game, and uh, they just did a really solid job. We'll get into some of the other players as well, but I feel like and it's not surprising, right? Robert Hunt, Timo, very solid. Damian Lewis, I thought was solid too. He struggled a little bit in the run game. He did a little better in the pass protection, but overall, Robert Hunt and Timo did a really solid job as well. Now, I want to get into the bad a little bit. And again, I want to be honest about this. Let's all be honest and let's not overreact, but let's be honest about what we saw Sunday. Let's talk about Bryce Young. I feel like Bryce Young had a pretty bad game. I didn't think it was bad as to the point where how he started off last season at the beginning of the season, but this was his worst game he's had since coming back from being benched, and that's including the Dallas game last year. This was the worst game. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to get into. The turnovers, to throw that ball to XL with the safety um, uh, in a position to make the interception. I don't know what he was thinking on that throw. Like that should and Dave Canales admitted today that should be he should have seen the safety and not thrown it to him. Sure, you can make the argument like XL could have been more aggressive at the ball, but that should not been he shouldn't have tried to attempt that throw. That was a poor throw. The fumble, getting out of the pocket, running up the field to try to get some yardage. I know Canal said during his press conference that he kind of stumbled and then that put him in an awkward position and then the ball was knocked out. But you got to be able to secure with both hands. You're 5'10", a buck 90. you need to protect the ball. And to have I mean, I know the other interception, it was like a kind of a a very awkward angle to throw at Rico Dowdle, but you have 2 interceptions, should have been 3 with the pick 6 that got called back because of a, defensive pass interference or defensive hold, and I can't remember. But there's 3 interceptions and a forced fumble. He's only statistically, has 2 interceptions, but it should have been 3. But gave up 3 turnovers. You cannot give up 3 turnovers and expect to win and be competitive in the football game. You can't. And then on top of that, you're getting out of the huddle. And again, not every play was like this, but there was definitely plays where you had 20 seconds left on the clock and you're hurt and you're taking the whole 20 seconds and you're clapping your hands with 1 second left. Where is like why is this an issue? We'll talk about Dave Canales in a minute, but why is this an issue? This is your second year in this offense. You should have this down by now. You should know the plays. You should know the audibles to the play. You should know where everybody is at and do this in a timely fashion. This shouldn't be hard. You're in the NFL. What are you doing all off season? That is like that is something I should see maybe Trevor Lawrence doing with first year head coach, first year offense coordinator Grad Udinski. Not Bryce Young. And this wasn't just 1 or 2 times. This happened a lot. Clock mismanagement and just not being able to get the play, set your guys up, be able to do whatever you got to do at the line of scrimmage. It was horrible. Now, he needs some help. Bryce Young does. His buddies didn't help him out. His playmakers didn't help him out. T-Mac made some plays, but overall, it wasn't just Bryce Young. Now, Bryce Young needs to play a lot better, but they need to be able to bail him out too. He can't do everything. Again, we said it last time. He's not Cam Newton. He has a totally different game. He can't take over a game physically like Cam Newton did. The best case scenario for Bryce Young is he's a more mobile Drew Brees. Drew Brees can't take over a game like that unless his teammates can catch and make plays. I mean, it's not all on Bryce Young, this poor offensive outing. It's not. It's a collective unit. There's a few bright spots. We talked about T-Mac and Chuba Hubbard. Offensive line did okay. We'll go into that in a minute. Some other players. But overall, this is a collective dumpster fire of an offense. It needs to get better. It needs to get better fast. And Bryce Young is definitely a contributing factor, no doubt. I saw some people on Twitter Sunday saying this isn't on Bryce Young. What do you mean? A fumble is on Bryce Young. Who did that? A poor read to Excel. Who did that? Now, if we're all being honest, it's not just Bryce Young. You have Bryce Young haters. They'll say, "Oh, he's garbage." Let's give context to it. This is the context. He needs his playmakers to play better. Bottom line. It's really not that hard. The defensive line as a unit. Where's the pass rush? We said it all last year. We're saying it again this year. The Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line was one of the worst. It was a bottom 10 in the league last year. That's why Trevor Lawrence had so many interceptions. He had tied fourth or fifth in the most in the league because the offensive line kept allowing pressures on Trevor Lawrence. I didn't see that. We had 0 sacks. Maybe I think it was like maybe a handful of pressures. Maybe. I mean, Derek Brown had some good plays. Trick Wharton had some good, decent plays, but where was the pass rush? we'll get into everyone in a minute, but they looked the defensive line, the front seven looked bad. 0 sacks, a handful of pressures, that's it? After all that money you spent on the defense. I get that it's a lot of new faces on a defense, but do your job, do your assignment. I get like you need continuity. It's good to keep playing with the same people, but just do your job. And hopefully they can get back to that. They can reset, go to Arizona and give me and show the fans a lot better effort. I'm okay with losing. We've been losing it a lot, but you can't lose like that against a worse team than you last year. Again, those teams are going to get better, right? Bottom tier teams, they start spending more money in free agency like we did, and we got a top 10 pick. They got a top 5 pick. And that was your performance? And we talked about it last video that the Jags offensive line was a weak link. Can the Panthers capitalize? Absolutely not. They couldn't. And they still couldn't stop the run. Now, you take away the 71 yard run by Travis Etienne, that's 130. But they gave up 200 yards rushing again with added a lot more weapons. Turk Wharton, I get that he was out early with a hamstring injury. Yeah, Bobby Brown the third. Derek Brown is back. Ashawn Robinson. I get that the linebackers are a weak link. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that I know, like, being able to dissect football and say, oh, that was on the nose tackle or that was on the edge rusher or that was on a linebacker. But as a whole, that is what you're showing me after all the money that we spent. It's the same thing. You can't stop the run. It's the same thing. They better figure it out. I thought Hunter Renfro, like he had like, a couple good plays, but he also had some bad plays. He had a play that Bryce Young threw it right on him. Again, the DB had a good lick on him, but then he dropped the ball and he got from the hit. You can't. You got to help your quarterback out. You got to help your quarterback out. If the quarterback throws the ball and it hits your hands, hold on to the freaking football. I can also tell you what, the ball that Bryce Young threw down the sideline and Hunter Renfrow caught it and fell out of bounds. People saying that was a bad throw. Jalen Coker would have caught that. And for you guys, I've seen some podcasters out there saying that we weren't going to really miss Jalen Coker being out, that there wasn't a big drop off between Jalen Coker and Hunter Renfrow. Tells me you don't know shit about football and what you're watching, especially last season. Jalen Coker, we miss Jalen Coker badly. If XL, and we'll talk about him in a minute, if he continues to play the way he played, Jalen Coker is wide receiver 2. I'm telling you, before the end of the season, Jalen Coker, wide receiver 2. But with Jalen Coker out and Thielen gone, we missed them, bro. Adam Thielen would have made that catch at the sideline. There's a lot of Clemson lovers out there that were mad that I talked about bad about Hunter Renfrow. I love Hunter Renfrow. I was mad that he didn't make the initial 53. But bro, like, if the ball hits you in the freaking hands, catch it. It wasn't like it was like a bang bang, like, catch and hit. I understand that, but he caught it, brought it in, hit, and incomplete. I don't think he had a horrible game, but he could have done a lot better. There was a play where Hunter Renfrow was wide open and Bryce Young threw it behind him. That could have been a touchdown. So there were plays out there to be made that Hunter Renfrow could have capitalized, but there's also plays he left out there on the field. You got to catch the football. XL, bro. Now, I'm not out on XL. I still believe in his talent, and I hope that he continues to uh, go in the upper trajectory where we're kind of done, seeing if he's going to be the guy. But the throw that Bryce Young made to XL towards the sideline, where he had more than enough room to get both feet inbound, where's your field awareness? How is that not? Like, how do you not complete that? You had more than enough time to catch toe drag, and you probably had more. You had enough room to catch foot toe drag if you wanted to. That was a Jonathan Mingo completion right there. That was horrible. XL needs to step up. Again, Jalen Coker's out for 4 weeks. He's out for 3 more weeks minimum. If XL plays like this, I promise you guys, and Jalen Coker comes back and because Jalen Coker to me is Mr. Consistent. He doesn't have the same physical attributes as XL does. He doesn't have the same strength. He doesn't have the same speed. He is tall, but he is consistent with his hands and his route running. If XL does not play more consistent and become more of a reliable target for Bryce Young, he's going to be wide receiver 3. I'm telling you, he is. Jalen Coker has earned the right to be wide receiver 2. And I don't understand, even when the last preseason game, I understand a little bit. He was injured, and Dave Canales wanted him to play the last preseason game. But XL needed those reps more than Jalen Coker. And anybody that was watching football consistently, Panther football, you would know that. I'm telling you, if XL does not improve, Jalen Coker's be wide receiver 2. And then keep messing around. Hunter Renfrow may outplay you. Jimmy Horn may outplay you. Keep messing around. I believe in XL. I do. I believe in him. But you gotta show it on the field. I don't care what you do during training camp. I don't care what you do during practice. I don't care about any of that. What I care is what you do on the field. You can have the best practices, the best training camp, the best joint practices. Don't care. You need to show it on the field. And the same thing goes with Dave Canales. I don't care if a certain player had a good how they played during practice. And we'll go into some of those players in a minute. Some of these other players I'm thinking of. What do they do on Sunday? That's all that matters. But XL is on notice right now. If he continues playing this way, he's out at wide receiver 2. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. JT Sanders didn't help Bryce out either. Just like how he did in preseason where he threw it right to his hands. Another drop. I mean, this is probably why Bryce Young was getting freaking pissed yesterday. I do think like there's some underlying issues that we don't know about as a fan base, to be quite honest with you. I do think there's a little bit of tension between Bryce Young and Dave Canales. And I think a part of that is I think Dave Canales has put a little bit, he's putting a little, how do I want to phrase this? He's handicapping Bryce Young, in my opinion. How he didn't fully trust Bryce Young until he opened the playbook fully for him. It felt like Sunday that Bryce Young was handicapped and like they were not like opening up the playbook. But it doesn't matter what you call if you drop the ball. There were plays out there that were beautiful play calls that we're overlooking because it wasn't executed properly. There was a lot of lack of execution offensively. So when you have XL, when you have JT Sanders, when you have receivers that are not catching balls that are in your hands, what do you want Bryce Young to do? He's a streaky guy. He needs to improve. He needs to be more consistent. But If XL can come up with that catch, if JT Sanders can come up with that catch, if T-Mac can come up with that catch in the end zone, that gives the quarterback more confidence. Not just in himself, but in you to throw the ball to. These guys need to step up. JT Sanders was known to be a really good pass catching tight end. What the hell happened? Ever since his injury to the neck, he hasn't been the same. You guys need to be more consistent. I don't know what it is. It's like when there's one or two drops and then the offense becomes very stale and slow, then all of a sudden it's like it just becomes contagious. I don't understand. But JT Sanders needs to improve. Now, I want to talk about the ugly. And I honestly felt like there was a lot of ugly. There was. Nick Scott was one of them. This is what I was talking about earlier, where I said, I don't care what you do during practice. If you don't show up on Sunday, I don't want you on the field. And this is what Nick
stick over. ETN is loose. That's still
missed tackle.
Travis, ETN.
Let's look at that again.
ETN is loose.
Whoop.
Stick over.
Mike Jackson.
ETN is
Here
loose.
comes Nick Scott. Missed tackle.
Travis, ETN.
I know who would have made that tackle. I know two people that would make that tackle. Lathan Ransom and Damani Richardson. I don't care if Nick Scott knows the whole defense. Can he make a tackle? Can he make an open field tackle? This is what the safety position is about. Not allowing explosive plays. What was that? What did he do? Allowed a 71-yard play. Let's look at it again.
Stick over. ETN is loose.
Oh.
Stick over. Travis, that's still going.
So
Travis.
It should have been no more.
Stick over.
Oops, pause this. It should have been nothing more than a 10-yard gain that turned to 70 because you can't do your freaking job. We're going to talk about Evero in a minute. But you need to put the best players on the field. I don't care if he's a good communicator. You want communication, but I want someone that can tackle. He ain't it. Trevin Wallace is another person that didn't play well. Out of the whole game, he was the lowest graded player Sunday for both teams. We saw the first touchdown was Strange, the Jaguars tight end. How it looked like at first we thought it was Nick Scott, but it ended up being Trevin Wallace that just totally out of position. Totally out of position. Trevin Wallace did have some decent plays. I to be honest with you, I felt like there were some plays that he did pretty well. I felt like PFF kind of graded him very, very low. I don't know if he deserved being the lowest graded player out there, but we talked about inside linebacker guys, how it's a weakness. I believe in this guy. He's a third-round pick. He's a second-year player. He still has more development. I really believe in this guy, but coverage, I feel like he's a little bit of a liability right now, and we saw it Sunday. We saw inside linebacker still a big need. And I think this is going to be, honestly, probably something we're going to see throughout the year, up and down. There's going to be some peaks, and there's going to be some valleys at the inside linebacker position. There is, just throughout this whole season. I thought Christian Roseboom did okay. He didn't give up a big play like he did against the Texans in the preseason. I feel like he was solid. He seemed like he had a decent motor the whole game. I thought Trevin Wallace was honestly okay, but he gave up some crucial plays, and I feel like his assignments he was in the right position a lot of the time. So I gotta put Trevor Wallace as part of the ugly here. Another thing that's really ugly. Not only did we lose the way we lost, but Turk Wharton's out 2 to 4 weeks because of his hamstring injury. Turk Wharton, I think after in the first quarter, after there's 2 drives where he had 4 or 5 tackles already. The dude looked so good in the middle, bro. He looks so good, and he's known to be a good run stopper. But we when he was playing the first quarter, so the first quarter, I thought the defense on the first drive had a great start, but the Jags went for it on that 4th and 1 in the Panthers territory, which I thought was ballsy inside their own 40, and they converted. But Wharton really just had he showed me something that the Panthers didn't have last year. Someone that was just like super stout in the middle that if you get next to him, he's not going to let you go. We missed that. But like going back to the first quarter in general with the Jags, like I felt like the first quarter was the best football, and then after that everything just fell apart. But there were quite a few penalties where the Jags they put themselves in 1st and 20, but the Panthers kept giving up those big chunk plays, which the Jags ended up getting a field goal out of it. But the Jaguars gave the Panthers defense opportunities to stop them and get them off the field without scoring. And I don't know what it is about our defense and tight ends, but we cannot. And that goes to inside linebackers. We talked about Trevor Wallace, but Strange had a really a good first series against our defense. I think he had 3 or 4 catches and a touchdown. No, sorry, the first 2 series he had like 5 catches and a touchdown. But starting out, I felt like Dave Canales was really stubborn with the run. I really love seeing it. He was actually showing me, okay, this guy is good. We kept running the football. Again, uh, we came away with a 40-yard field goal, and things kind of fell apart from there. With that poor throw uh, by Bryce, where he looked at Excel the whole way. That was a great play by the DB. That Hunter Long touchdown, that tight end touchdown, and guess who was guarding him? Nick Scott. So, but just Turk Wharton, going back to him, we're gonna Bobby Brown the third, and I'm still shocked that A'Shawn Robinson is our nose tackle versus Bobby Brown. I know Bobby Brown. I think he tweaked a little something out there as well, but he's got the step up. We're really gonna miss Turk Wharton. This guy is a beast, man, and I'm looking forward to him getting back into. Hopefully, it's only a couple weeks. Hopefully, they don't have to go in IR. I know that Dave Canales was asked about that, and he said that they're not sure at this time. Hopefully, it's only 2 weeks. I think they're going to kind of see how he does the first week and go from there, or the next couple of days and go from there. But we'll see. But we're going to miss him for sure. But that I want to put a part of the ugly. Not that Turk Wharton played horrible. It's just the injury added to this whole ugliness of how this game went. But let's talk about coaching. Let's talk about it, and let's be honest about it. I want to start with Dave Canales. And I'll be honest, I appreciate Dave Canales' vulnerability today during the press conference. I felt like he was very honest, a lot more than normal, to be honest with you. But we have to be honest about him right now. His seat's warming up a little bit. I know it's week 1, and this is an overreaction, but that seat is a little bit warmer now. Again, I go back to what I mentioned about Bryce Young. Why is it year 2, the same offense, the same quarterback, the same offensive line, the same receivers, the same running back? Yes, you added T-Mac, who was one of the best, if not the best player on the offense Sunday, and you add Rico Dottle. It's the same freaking offense, and you can't get a play out in time for Bryce Young to be able to, okay, this is the play. Here's the audible to the play. Let's line up to the line of scrimmage. There was multiple times where the play got into him within 8 seconds or 10 seconds, and they have to hurry up and put your players in a position to succeed. Why is it taking that long? There was a timeout that we had. And again, I'm not going to sit up here and act like I understand like why or who did what, right? I'm just going on base as a fan of what I see. But they came out of a timeout and they were still trying to hurry up and get the playoff. You got to be kidding me. That is coaching. That's coaching. Now, if I see Bryce Young with 25 seconds on the clock, 27 seconds on the clock, and he keeps changing the play or like they're confused or whatever, okay. But if I consistently see Bryce in the offense getting 10 seconds to set up and hike the ball, that's on you, Dave Canales. That's on you. What and he mentioned during his press conference that's something we need to work on. It should not be something you have to work on week 1. That's something you work on during OTAs and training camp. That's something that should be basic. This is roughly the amount of time that we needed to get the play to the quarterback. And this is roughly the amount of time the quarterback needs to be able to, once he gets the play, roughly this is the time that he needs to be able to set up and then dissect whether this play is good to go or he needs to change the play to the audible that was given to him. It should be basic. And I'm sorry, but it's coaching. That's coaching. There's no other reason for it. Unless I see Bryce Young with 25 seconds on the clock and he's taking forever, okay. But I saw plenty of other times that he was given 10, 12 seconds. I don't see the Kansas City Chiefs doing that. I see them getting the ball, getting to the line of scrimmage with 23 seconds left. I don't see the Bills doing that. I don't see the Ravens doing that. You got to be kidding me. Now, I feel like play calling wise, like I know some people said like he had some questionable play calling. Okay, fair. But the 4th and 1 play I thought was a good play. Jatavion Sanders was wide open. I believe that was the play that Bryce Young got upset about, and I'm pretty sure he was upset about not seeing JT Sanders. But at first, I thought that was a throwaway. That play, 4th and 1 at the goal line, but it ended up being, according to Dave Canales, Bryce Young expected XL to go to the hash mark or the back of the end zone, but that ball was like, I don't even know if it was catchable for T-Mac how high it was. That was not a Bryce Young needs to have a big give his players an opportunity to try to get that ball. But a lot of people were ripping Dave Canales about the play call. The play call was fine. Actually, I believe T-Mac ran the wrong route, and that somehow with that route it ruined a part of the play. But with Bryce Young being able to escape the pocket and rolling out to the left, Jatavion Sanders was there for a touchdown, and Bryce didn't even see him. But I go back to Dave Canales because this whole offense looked unprepared. And if I can understand if it's 1 or 2 players, okay, then you need to be able to fix that. It's week 1, okay. But if it looks like the whole freaking offense, that's on you as a coach. There's no other person. Yes, the players need to be able to execute better. But it's on you as a coach if you're not getting the play to your quarterback on time and your whole offense looks unprepared. It goes back to the preseason too. Play your starters in the preseason. When you played them during the Texans game, you're like, oh, they didn't earn another series. They didn't earn another. They didn't earn to get off the field. It's getting ridiculous. The preseason and how we play is leaking towards week 1. If we don't look good in the preseason, well, guess what, Dave Canales? We're not going to look good during the regular season. There's nothing that you're going to be like, oh, we hid this and now we're this really good team, right? What are you hiding? That our team is garbage? You're trying to hide that from the fan base? Is that what you're trying to hide? I don't understand it. I get the whole like health, we don't want our players to like more that we don't want to put them in another position to get hurt. Put them in a position to be successful. Injuries happen. Do what you got to do to get the team ready. I can understand Derek Brown. I can understand like top tier players. Maybe you don't do that. But if your offense or your team or a big chunk of your team, they don't look prepared, again, you cannot, and I've said this before in other videos, I don't care what you do during practice. You have to show me during the game. And that's a preseason game. I don't care about joint practice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Maybe it counts for the people that are on the edge of making the team, but it doesn't count. And the best way you can simulate a game is preseason game. And if you look shitty during the preseason, you're going to look shitty during the regular season. And guess what? We look like shit. Your turn, Evero. Your seat's really warm. And because your seat's a little warm, that's also why Dave Canales' seat's a little warm too. Just a heads up why he kept you. You got a lot of new players, really good players. Turk Wharton, Bobby Brown III, Cam Jackson, Christian Roseboom, Trayvon Moehrig, Lathan Ransom. You got a lot of new players, and guess what? You still gave the same product. The same product. And what I also want to talk about, Dave Canales mentioned this a little bit, and I'll just kind of bring it up now. This is something I want to highlight real quick. Lowest week one pressure rates, 13% pressure rate against a bottom 10 offensive line that picked up two people, one of them a third rounder. And they weren't big picks. Like it wasn't like a big, huge free agency pickup. And you only gave 13% pressure rate. It's not because their offensive line is so good. It's because you're so shit. That is horrible. And then going back to what I want to mention what Dave Canales brought up too. Why is Lathan Ransom only have 9% snap percentage, 55% special teams percentage? Why is Prince Human Yellen only 12% snap percentage? Why does Princely have less snaps than DJ Johnson? You need to get these guys more into the football game. And I mentioned this before too. Evero has a really hard time for whatever reason. It seems more trust than anything. He has a hard time playing young players, specifically rookies, even if they outplay and do well during training camp and or the preseason. You need to get these players on the field. Because guess what? You're letting them play, and they're letting them develop, but guess what? You're allowing these other guys to rest. Evero's on the hot seat, bro. Evero, honestly, I do believe I believe in Evero because he's shown it and proven it with good players. But and it's week one. I'm a little frustrated. That's why I have my beer with me. I understand it's week one. You're on the road. A lot of new players. Okay. But that's your performance. That is what you're putting on the field, is that against that team. And I mentioned in my last video, the Jaguars are better than their record was last year. That's a fact. but you let them score 26 points and we only scored 10 against one of the worst secondaries in the league. Granted, Hines Allen is a really good edge rusher. Josh Nyman's got exposed. He had a decent run blocking grade, but his pass blocking grade was bad. Austin Corbett, these are a couple players that I forgot to add to my slides here. Austin Corbett hiking the ball too early, too late, too high. You can't make this up, dude. And this is an overreaction. This is a fact. We probably look like the worst team in the league right now. If you looked at every other team that's like bottom third in the league, they looked somewhat competitive. We looked like we did the beginning of last year, where we looked like we had no freaking clue what the hell was going on. It needs to be fixed fast, because if it's not, there's a lot of people that are leaving next year. And I don't want to have anyone I don't want Evero fired in the middle of the season. Does nothing. Doesn't change anything. But a lot of things need to change, or there will be a lot of changes after the season. I just think coaching, the whole team looked unprepared. That is on Dave Canales. The whole defense looked unprepared. That's on Evero. They look like they just did not belong, and it looked like a team that didn't know what football was. They didn't know where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there, what to do. It just looked horrible. Again, the first quarter they looked fine. It looked okay, and it just collapsed. They had the rain delay. You couldn't regroup. You couldn't get your team focused. Coaching, bro. Again, if it's a handful of players, you make the corrections, right? But when it looks like the whole team, that's coaching. That's why Dave Canales looked defeated during his press conference today. He knows it. Now, what are you going to do about it? I believe in you, Dave Canales. I do. I honestly do. I think he's a great person. He's proven that he is really good at his work, at his job. Maybe he was a little too he got the head coaching job too early, wasn't prepared yet. But you better look better. There is no reason why the offense should have looked the way they looked. The Jaguars had a first-year offensive coordinator out there, and they didn't look like they were unprepared at all. At all. So that is why we lost. It was a whole team effort, from the coaching staff to the execution of the players. It was a whole team effort on losing. Now they have the Cardinals coming up next week. Let's see what kind of proctor the team puts on the field this coming Sunday, but it better be better, because that wasn't it. If you guys haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get in the comments. Let me know if you agree, disagree, what your thoughts are about Dave Canales, about this football team, and let me know. This is a therapy session. Go in the comments and just spill your heart out, all right? But thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. I'm a growing Panther podcaster, only 19 subscribers. I appreciate the love and the support, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.